Well, more news now, and a burglar on the run from Holsey Bay Open Prison in Suffolk has been bragging about his exploits on the social networking website Facebook. 28-year-old Craig Lynch was serving a 7-year sentence for aggravated burglary when he absconded in September. On his homepage, he appears to have his middle finger raised next to the motto, "Life is what you make it, live fast, die young."
I'm very surprised that somebody should behave in this way, but then it's a pretty surprising thing that you have so many abscondees from what is an open prison, and one has to ask, why was this person, who was clearly unsuitable for an open prison, sent there?
Police have cordoned off farmland near Framlingham in Suffolk after a body was found by the side of the road. A woman out walking near Brabling Green found the man's body this lunchtime off the B1120 at New Road. The death is currently being treated as suspicious. The family of a terminally ill 80-year-old man are hoping a review of his condition will mean he finally gets funding for round-the-clock care.
Brian Stroud from Clacton can't walk or lift his head, and he also has difficulty swallowing. But so far, NHS North East Essex have refused to pay. Victoria Webb has more.
A devoted couple married for 52 years. When Brian Stroud was diagnosed with a terminal illness, his wife Eileen wanted him to be cared for at home. Brian has PSP, progressive supranuclear palsy. It's a rare condition that involves the gradual deterioration of areas of the brain. He now needs a lot of help that his family thought he'd receive through the NHS, but they're having difficulty securing the funding.
We were extremely close and had a fantastic childhood and upbringing. You think you want to give something back, and you're trying to fight this because you think, well, if I say I'm going to do something for them, I'll do it. And when you're fighting brick walls like this and bureaucracy and red tape, you're just feeling that we're not getting anywhere.
NHS North East Essex has confirmed that on 2 occasions when Brian was assessed by the Continuing Healthcare Panel, he wasn't seen as being ill enough to qualify for the funding. He does, however, receive care 4 nights a week, which is funded by the NHS. That, his family says, is by no means enough.
He's doubly incontinent, he has no use of his left side, he cannot move his head up or down, he's basically moved in a wheelchair, he has no form of communication apart from a few single words, and basically they say he doesn't meet any criteria. If he doesn't meet the criteria, there must be hundreds of people out there having the same struggle.
Debbie and Christopher have spent the last year appealing against the panel's decision. Eileen is currently having to fund Brian's carers. The bill has reached £16,000. In a statement, a spokesperson for NHS North East Essex said, "We carried out a new assessment on Monday as the client's care needs have potentially increased. The results of this assessment, carried out by a number of health and social care professionals, will be presented to the local panel for a decision." According to the PSP Association, their battle is by no means an isolated one.
I'm absolutely convinced that people in PCTs have no understanding of the nature of the illness and the appalling consequences it inflicts on people with the illness.
Brian's family will now wait to hear the outcome of his latest assessment, hoping for good news. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, Clacton.
We will, of course, bring you the results of that assessment as well.
Firefighters in Essex who tackled a blaze that killed an elderly couple 2 weeks ago have been giving advice on how to prevent similar tragedies.
Reginald and Phoebe Holding were killed by a blaze at their cottage in Saffron, Walden. The event also comes just before the 40th anniversary of a fire in a local hotel that killed 11 people. Martin Stew has this report.
Just like the flowers on the doorstep, the memory of what happened here less than 2 weeks ago is still fresh for many of the people who live in this close-knit community. On the 11th of December, fire tore through this cottage on Mill Lane, killing elderly residents Reginald and Phoebe Holding and leaving a community in shock. That's why today Essex Fire Brigade are holding fire safety sessions in the town. Dorothy Free lives alone 2 doors down from Mr and Mrs Holding's cottage. She's been promised a fire safety advisor will come to her house to sort out her alarms.
It's terrible that it takes such a tragedy to make your mind click into place that you really ought to get the place checked out for yourself. So they're coming up and they're going to tell me where is the better place to put this smoke alarm. And I'm going to be all set up for Christmas and safety.
Boxing Day will be the 40th anniversary of the fire at Saffron Walden's Rose and Crown Hotel and Pub, which killed 11 people. That fire played a major role in making smoke detectors more commonplace. Had their smoke alarm been working, it's possible Mr. and Mrs. Holding could have survived.
There was a smoke detector in the property. It didn't have a battery, tragically, and this is one of the messages that we want to get out today. If you've got a smoke detector, have you tested it? Do you know it's working?
If you want to find out more and live in Saffron, Walden, the fire station is open until 8 o'clock this evening. Martin Stew, Anglia News, Essex.
Plans to switch off thousands of streetlights in Norfolk to save money have been criticised as potentially putting safety at risk. The County Council wants to turn off about half the streetlights at certain times to cut its energy bills. It insists community safety won't be compromised, but the idea's prompted criticism in Norwich, where 7,000 could be switched off after midnight. Now, just after we go off air tonight at 6:38, it will be exactly 10 years since a Korean air cargo plane crashed near Stansted Airport.
Now, the crash 3 days before Christmas killed the jumbo jet's crew of 4, but miraculously no one on the ground was injured. Our Essex reporter Tom Barton has been to meet some of the people whose lives were touched by the accident.
Over 24 hours ago, Korean air flight HL-7451 took off from Stansted Airport. We all know what happened next.
What happened next was the worst air crash in Stansted's history. A jumbo jet cargo plane ditching less than 2 miles from the airport, killing all 4 crew on board. Eyewitnesses described the explosion as a fireball. HL-7451 took off at 18:37 and 38 seconds on December 22nd, 1999. It climbed normally for 41 seconds. As the pilot turned the plane to the left, a faulty instrument meant he banked too far, lost control and crashed 2 miles from the airport. The Boeing 747 had been in the air for a total of just 55 seconds.
Wreckage was strewn all across our fields here.
Valerie and Martin Mugley live just yards from the crash site in Great Hallingbury. This was the scene they faced all around their house. Large pieces of debris spread out over a massive area. Even today, 10 years on, Martin still occasionally finds pieces of wreckage. A stark reminder of just how lucky they were.
The plane blew up into thousands of pieces and it was all round at the back. But, I mean, we didn't lose a window, we didn't lose a tile, you know, so, yeah, very lucky.
The airport was closed for less than 24 hours. The man charged with reopening the runway was Trevor Waldock, who, at the time, was an airside operations manager.
The long-lasting memories are very much recalling seeing the aircraft parked on stand that day. The following day I actually went to the crash site and you just couldn't recognise it as being an aircraft. It's very much like a refuge ship, really. So that's one of the lasting memories in my mind.
The plane was carrying depleted uranium as cargo ballast. 1 bar was never recovered from the wreckage. Experts insist it doesn't pose a health risk. But memories of that night 10 years ago mean the risks associated with running and living near an airport remain fresh in the minds of those who experienced it. Tom Barton, Anglia News at Great Hallingbury in Essex.
Right, it's just going up to 20 minutes past 6. You're watching Anglia.